Good evening to all. My name is Surya Prasad. I am pursuing second BCom CA. The psychological manipulation of Brutus in Julius Caesar. Shakespeare, Julius Caesar is not merely a political thriller. It is profound psychological study of how a noble man can be lead to betray his close friend through flatter, forgot letters, pressure, and historical mastery. Brutus is systematically dismantled from within. This presentation examines the layered manipulation that turns for a honorable setter into the assassin. Setting the stage, Rome power and public opinion. Rome is a 44 BCE is a city at the political breaking point. Julius Caesar has returned victorious and the republic institution are crumbling under the weight of ambition. Public opinion is the same crowd that cheers Cashier and the Lupercal will later turn violent against his killers. The Republic under the threat. Cashier's growing authority alarms who fair and domestic governance and rise of the monetary power of mob. The Rome is easily solved by the spectacle and fact every political player understand and exploits. Honor as a currency. In a Roman society, reputation and honor are the highest value, making men like uniquely to appear the virtuous. Cassius rises Brutus' dilemma, patriotism with friendship. Brutus occupies the most painful position in play, catch in between a love for the Cassius as a friend and a devotion to Rome. As the parrot, he has no personal grievance against Cassius. His conflicted entry ideological Shakespeare makes this destination curical. Brutus does not act from or hatred but from the tortured scenes of the civil duty. Cassius himself recognized the tension, famously declaring the brutal cute's deepest because it comes from the men he trusts. Compulsory. Brutus' internal struggle is the more center of the play, and it is the struggle that Cassius weaponizes. Keynote. No, that is loud. Cassius less, but that loud. Romy more. Brutus Act 3, Season 2. Brutus post conflicted personal affection for the cashier as the friend as mentor. Fear the cashier ambition will desire the republic, etc. Cashier's masterful manipulating, exploiting Brutus virtues. Cassius is Shakespeare's most skilled psychological manipulator. He does not attack Brutus' weakness. He targets his strengths, knowing Brutus' values, honor above all else. Cassius frames the compass is not a murder, but a noble sacrifice for Rome. Factor was a weapon. Cassius repeated reputation and moral standard, making him feel that joining the friendship, etc. Forgotten letters and public deception. The art of the deception. The anonymous letters. The passage case is most cunning is the forgiving of letter written in the different hands that appear to come from the concurrent citizen using Brutus to act against the cases. The letters exploit Brutus' deep desire to serve the public good. When the Brutus reaches them alone in the act, Act 2, Section 1, he interpreted them the proof to Roman itself, it calling upon him the manipulation of works because it confirmed what Brutus already feared. The Cassius must be stopped for the sakes for the Republic. Why the letter works? They appear to come the multiple independent sources, creating illustration spread public consensus. They appeal Brutus' and duty rather than the greed only motivation would find acceptance. They arrive more amount of the psychological when Brutus is already steering his decision. The conspirator influence peer pressures and moral justification. Once the Brutus joins the conspirators, the group dynamic alliance in the commitment. The conspirator men of the standing and reputation provide a collective validation of act that Brutus alone might never have undertaken. Collective legitimates being surrounded by the respected men and this is normalize the conspirators if they believe it writes Brutus out and quieted and Antony funeral option turning the tide. If causes manipulated Brutus through the private position, Mark Antony decided through the public legislative funeral option Act 3 says Section 3 some masterclass of the psychological manipulation using high interpretation, emotional appeal to the transform of the crowd entirely. After Roman's countryman Antony opens with a warm and apparently immediate position himself and grieving friend, not a political appointment. They will land the body. Antony reveals Caesar will the living money and land to every Roman citizen and display the Caesar's wounded body. Take as a grief and drafts. Repeated and honorable men by repeated calling the honorable while using the Caesar riches and then invents the meaning immediately world become better, satisfied, etc. The Brutus in internal confident the weight of this action. The ghost of the Caesar before the battle, while Caesar ghost appears to the Brutus, declaring the shoots all the Philip. This is a supranational reputation. Brutus in escapable guilt. It convinces made it main fast. The ghost does not threaten if a simple appear the Shakespeare genius. The greatest punishment of the Brutus is not the death but the certain cannot escape what he has done. What he has done. What he has done. Sign of the psychological causes sleeplessness. Brutus confessed that he is not slept since the conspiracy has been a classic case and actor psychological stage and light education, philosophical disabilities, etc. The aftermath, psychological toll and tragic downfall. Brutus told sense not a tragic but exhausted regression at the Philip is a focus or defected. His allies are death scattered and his moral certainty replaced by the quiet acceptance of the men who know he was used. The most of the manipulation Brutus lost his friend, his honor is in the eyes of the Roman, his wife, and ultimately his life at all of the costs, never truly his own and own final judgment. Scientifically, Anton Brutus' greatest enemy, chronological is nobility. This was the noblest Roman of them all. The heredity Brutus Vetus and the very tool of this destruction. The irony of this death, Brutus falls on his own shroud and the instrument of this death, a caution of the himself, final act of the agency's life for that had been directed by others. He dies, he lived on his own tree in terms of it utility broken.